Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I'm Mariah. Today's topic is rejection sensitive dysphoria. This video is a suggested research video. For the research in this video, I used an article to gather information for this topic. The link to this article will be posted in the comment section. I will also post the other article that I read but I didn't use in this video in the comment section for those who are interested in reading it. If you're interested to know more after you've watched, I've linked my social media accounts in the video description box. If you like or enjoy my content, I would appreciate if you would subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment and or any suggestions you have below. One way you can support my channel is by becoming a patron. The link to my Patreon will be posted in the comment section below. Thanks a lot. Another way you can support my channel is by supporting me on Ko-fi. The link to my Ko-fi will be posted in the comment section below. Thanks a lot. Now let's get into today's topic. All the information below came from the RSD Autism website in the article Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria in ADHD and Autism. Rejection sensitive dysphoria, or RSD, is categorized by strong emotional reactions to real or perceived rejection. These reactions have been described as immense emotional pain from real or perceived failure to meet others' expectations. Reactions can be internalized, like feelings of low self-esteem and self-criticism, or they can be externalized by responding to someone with anger or bursting into tears. Common RSD characteristics. RSD is not an official diagnosis recognized by the MSD, which means there are no specific diagnostic criteria. Because it is not an official diagnosis, there also isn't a lot of research about it. Nevertheless, clinicians and individuals who experience RSD often describe the following characteristics. You are often described as too sensitive. You often perceive criticism or feedback as rejection. You may respond to feedback with anger or emotional outbursts. You may respond to feedback with anger or emotional outbursts. You have low self-esteem / self-worth. You are a people pleaser. You constantly replay social situations in your head to figure out what you did wrong. You avoid getting close to people altogether. You often fear disappointing others. You have the fear of making mistakes. You avoid situations where you can likely make mistakes. For example, trying a new activity. You feel embarrassment or shame when given feedback. You fear being judged by others even when doing everyday activities. RSD and ADHD. RSD is commonly recognized as a trait of ADHD, even though it is not officially listed in the diagnostic criteria. Dr. William Dotson is a prominent ADHD clinician and is the first person to use the term RSD. He says that in a recent article that excluding RSD from excluding RSD from the official diagnostic criteria for ADHD is frustrating because it is evident that these criteria were developed to identify observable stereotypical presentations for ADHD in children, but they do not capture internalized emotional and cognitive traits, especially in adults. The lack of recognition in the DSM is even more frustrating given that there have been many findings over the years that highlight how ADHDers tend to experience stronger emotional reactions than non-ADHDers. In Europe, the diagnostic criteria for ADHD recently recognized emotional dysregulation as a common trait. Since RSD relates to emotional regulation, it would fall under this category. What leads to RSD and ADHD? We have conditioned rejection. Our ADHDers have more experiences of real rejections than neurotypicals. This starts early in childhood, where ADHDers experience higher rates of rejection at school from their peers and teachers. This also includes higher rates of bullying compared to peers. It's likely that very real bullying and rejection from peers were traumatic. Thus, it makes sense that we would learn coping mechanisms for dealing with rejections. For example, people-pleasing can be a fawn trauma coping mechanism. Emotional outbursts can be a fight trauma coping mechanism, and avoiding social interactions can be a flight trauma coping mechanisms. Therefore, due to experiencing rejections often in childhood, ADHDers learn to become hyper-aware of any potential rejection scenarios. However, what makes RSD emotional reaction is disappropriation or disappropriate to the situation. Emotional regulation. Research has found that ADHDers often experience emotions more strongly than neurotypical. This is often also associated with having more trouble regulating emotions. We may feel the fear and rejection so strongly that it can be distressing, painful, and difficult to manage. It can look like becoming completely consumed and overwhelmed by the feelings of shame and inadequacy when your friend cancels a coffee date, even if logically you are able to recognize that the cancellation was because they were sick, not because you did something wrong. In addition, higher levels of impulsivity typically seen in ADHDers can exacerbate RSD. When we respond impulsively, we can respond to strong emotions by immediately assuming rejection is actually happening. However, if given the time to reflect, we recognize that the rejection was a feeling but not a reality. In sum, RSD is a product of having to cope with a reality of real rejection experiences and a nervous system that is wired to experience emotions very strongly. Both of these experiences are common in individuals with ADHD. RSD and justice sensitivity. One less talked about feature of RSD is justice sensitivity. Since we are more in tune to rejection and criticism, we are also in tune to injustice towards victims. One study shows that ADHDers with RSD traits are more likely to recognize injustice, feel injustice intensely, and show stronger responses to witnessing injustice. It sounds like while there can be distresses associated with RSD, I can imagine how it might make us excellent advocates and activists. Differentiating RSD from other conditions. The term RSD is typically used to refer to emotional dysregulation in ADHD, but the traits associated with RSD are common in other conditions. There appear to be such a high degree of overlap that many ADHDers may have previously received a misdiagnosis. Here are some ways that RSD can appear in other conditions and how to differentiate between them. We have PTSD. Because RSD develops as a conditioned response to experiencing real rejection, many of the coping mechanisms relate to the fight, fawn, freeze responses often are associated with PTSD. Moreover, individuals with ADHD also experience higher levels of childhood trauma than the general population. Identifying RSD in this case involves isolating what triggers the environmental reaction. RSD is always triggered by a fear of rejection. Therefore, if the underlying cause of strong emotional reactions is the fear of rejection, RSD is likely. Social anxiety. Often, social anxiety is associated with a wide range of social fears. In contrast, RSD is specific to rejection. Also, strong emotions that arise in social anxiety can appear when an individual is anticipating a social interaction. In RSD, strong emotions are more commonly a reaction to something that has occurred. Thus, though we may engage in active avoidance. Finally, in social anxiety, the level of anxiety can fluctuate depending on the person you are interacting with or the type of interaction. If you have RSD, you will likely be just as triggered by someone you have a strong relationship with, like a close friend or partner, as you would with someone you just met. The perceived rejection is not dependent on the strength of the relationship. Borderline personality disorder, or BPD. Differentiations between BPD and RSD comes down to recognizing the distinct core belief in each case. Someone with RSD is specifically worried about being rejected. In BPD, individuals are focused on abandonment. Another differentiating factor that an emotional response in RSD is always triggered by a specific event, like getting feedback at work. An emotional response in BPD may be a more generalized pattern of behavior as opposed to being closely tied to a trigger. Depression. Most of the characteristics of RSD, such as low self-worth and social withdrawal, can look like depression. There is also a correlation between rejection sensitivity and depressive symptoms. Nonetheless, the most significant difference between RSD and depression is a more stable state, whereas RSD is triggered by a situation. For example, someone with depression may engage in negative self-talk consistently for months, while someone with RSD may engage in negative self-talk as a response to a social interaction, but after a few hours, the feelings will dissipate. Differentiation based on the length of the onset and duration can also be applied to other conditions such as bipolar disorder. How autism influences RSD. There currently isn't any research specifically looking at RSD and autism. However, since 50 to 70% of autistics also have ADHD, it is likely that many autistics also experience RSD. Here are some ways that autistic traits can exacerbate RSD. Higher levels of conditioned rejection. Just like in ADHD, autistics experience a lot of bullying and rejection in childhood and adulthood. These experiences may compound the need to be hyper aware of rejection. The impact of these rejection experiences are amplified by the lack of understanding about certain social interactions and a difficulty navigating many neurotypical social norms. This also includes differences in nonverbal communication and difficulty interpreting neurotypical social cues. But by not understanding, the only way to avoid real rejection is to adapt RSD qualities such as people-pleasing. Interceptual difficulties. Many autistics struggle with emotional Interceptual difficulties. Many autistics struggle with emotional regulation due to alexithymia. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. And poor introspection. We may not be able to accurately identify what we are feeling. For example, in response to someone canceling plans, we may not be able to recognize the difference between feeling sad and disappointed versus rejected. We also may struggle to identify what others are feeling. For example, our friend may make a facial expression signaling feeling surprised, but we may assume that it means they are mad. Therefore, we are about to be rejected. Therefore, they're about to reject us. Autistic support for RSD. It is important to recognize and validate how debilitating RSD can be. The emotional dysregulation is more distressing and painful and can have negative impacts on our mental health. For example, one study found that individuals who report more rejection sensitivity also experience more depressive symptoms. If you experience RSD, you might find it helpful to identify what triggers your strong emotions. What specific situations led to perceive or experience rejection? This way you can hopefully recognize when you find yourself in a triggering situation and apply only any coping styles you've learned more quickly and effectively. It is important to seek understanding in confusing social situations. It might be helpful to ask for clarification when you sense feelings of rejection. Perhaps with more information, you can identify the other person's intentions more accurately. Finally, don't forget about your own needs. If you find yourself people-pleasing, you might forego asking for what you need to avoid rejection. Here's a reminder, your needs matter too. I hope this video helps someone who needs it. I know this video was long, I'm sorry, but I think all this information in it is vital and important. As some of you may know, I have problems with pronunciation, which is because I'm dyslexic, autistic, and an ADHD. I don't try to hide this because I want some people who have similar struggles to know they aren't alone. No matter how hard pronouncing someone will be, I will always try my best. Those are the reasons I leave my mistakes in these videos. As always, I'm open to any suggestions you have for any future video topics. Please let me know what they are in the comment section below or on my Twitter page. And my Twitter handle is @BurleyMariah. That's my last name and my first name. I'll spell it for you. My last name is spelled Burley, and my first name is spelled Mariah. The next video will be on the suggested topic of differences between imposter syndrome and rejection sensitive dysphoria. And that will be available on my Patreon on Wednesday, August 7th at 6 p.m. EDT. And available on my YouTube channel on Saturday, August 10th at 6 p.m. EDT. I hope everyone continues to stay safe. I'll post my notes in the comment section for anyone who needs them. Feel free to share this video with anyone you think might benefit from watching it. If you want to be notified when I do any live streams or upload any new content, you should click the bell icon and select the all options under the bell icon. Thanks for watching. I love you guys. Bye!